necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, good morning. This is CJ, and my co-host is not available as he is in Boston having hip replacement surgery. My good thoughts and prayers goes out to my co-host Chip, and I know our viewers are also thinking good thoughts and sending you well wishes. I will hope that Chip will be on the show via phone, possibly on Friday, if not by video camera. We'll see what we can set up. Well, yesterday was an amazing day. The city council did not drop a note. And I'll tell you, I think one of the most controversial issues was the status of the EMS department in Group 4. And I'm really going to pick on this today because it's necessary so that people understand this. And I'm going to preface this with the following. I have a great deal of respect for all members of the EMS service in the city of Fall River and everywhere in this country. I think the job they do is a thankless job at times. People don't understand what they have to go through, and that they really deserve a lot more credit than they receive. They have generated care and consistency amongst the citizens and visitors here in Fall River, and people sometimes owe them their lives. My position and the position of many other people is not that you don't deserve something, because you do. But let's explain this to you, the viewer, so you understand this, so you don't think we're haters. Group 4 was originally created for police, fire, and correctional officers. Back in 2008, they rolled in district attorneys because the district attorney was shot and they wanted to give them similar services. The problem is this. In 2008, they also allowed cities and towns to adopt Chapter 426 of the Acts, or 462 of the Acts of 2008. And this allows EMS personnel to be rolled into the Group 4 status. As we've heard numerous times from the city administrator and the Lord of the Rings, for the lack of a better expression, the Queen of Deception, Mary Sahadi, the city's pension fund is a burden. It's unfunded. Even Moody's said that the unfunded pension plan is one of Fall River's biggest detriments financially. The only benefit, and let's make this very clear, only benefit that EMS will get from being rolled into Group 4 is a lower retirement age, so they don't have to work until 65 or 70 or whatever the case may be, and a better reimbursement, a better percentage, a better pay rate. But they will not qualify for the long bill, the cardiac bill, or the cancer bill, which is why Group 4 employees normally qualify for that. The police and firefighters of days gone by that fought for Group 4 status, that fought for the long bill, which fought for the cardiac bill, which fought for the cancer bill, did so because they were put in extreme danger. Now, EMS and the fire chief all say, no, they're in as much danger as everybody else. Yes and no. EMS has the option and opportunity to say, we're not entering that scene until it's clear, until it's safe. They don't run into burning buildings. They're not regularly being shot at or assaulted by criminals in the act of commission of a crime. And as their own statement goes, they have never had a line of duty death, which I'm so glad for, and I'm grateful for that fact, because they are acting in the safest manner possible for them. But if the only argument for placing EMS into Group 4 is safety, placing them in Group 4 is not going to make them any safer. They're required to do that. Now, if we're going to do that for them, then let's create another act of legislation which allows plumbers, electricians, community nurses all to be listed as Group 4 because they're going into homes. They don't know the situation. And the argument that came back to me from a city council was, well, no, they've already visited once, so they know the situation. No. EMS has visited some homes 6, 7, 8 times. Police officers have visited the same home 10, 12, 15 times, and it's always different. The issue we have here is not do or do they not deserve this. The issue we have here is, number one, the only benefit they're getting is financial, money. The second issue we have is, can the city afford this financially? Now, the argument coming from the director and the assistant director of EMS is that it will not affect the city financially because all the money comes out of the enterprise fund. Yes and no. Once again, we're back to that. The problem we have is this. The current enterprise fund pays all of their expenses, and of course they have money left over, etc., and whatnot. But under the retirement plan, they currently have an agreement with the city to have it fully funded by 2035. And that's based on the current payment system, which takes into account projected retirements, early retirements, based upon Group 4 status and whatnot. And so they've calculated out, there's people that do this professionally called actuarials, and they said this is what it's going to take to get this fully funded. When we turn these employees around and make them Group 4, we now throw off the actuarial tables, which means it has to be recalculated again, which will increase the cost to the city in regards to funding the retirement system by 2035, which is the agreement in place. I think the bigger insults came out from the fact that, to some people, you know, and we know not everybody who works in the city lives here, which is another problem that we have because the city never really enforced the residency requirements. But when somebody comes forward from Cranston, Rhode Island, to testify on this because he does work in the system, and I agree he should have that opportunity because he works in the system, it kind of speaks volumes. And then they misrepresent, again, the city of misrepresentation, that this will not be retroactive. The retirement system determines your group status on the day you apply for retirement. They don't look at the group status you were in 29 years ago. They don't look at the group status you were in 5 years ago. They don't look at the group status you were in 10 years ago. They look at the group status on the day you apply. Your payments at Group 2 and your payments at Group 4 are the same, so that's irrelevant. So to use that misrepresentation, I'm not going to call it an outright lie yet, is fictitious. And to ask why I am so upset about moving EMS into Group 4, because you're not getting any benefit except early retirement. You even had an assistant director who testified that I have 29 years in and I still got 3 more years to retire. No. If that is adopted, the day it's adopted, it goes into effect. Contrary to the statement in the contract, which says it goes into effect on 2019. If they want it to go into effect on June 30th of 2019, fine. Pass the ordinance on June 30th, 2019, it goes into effect. That way, nobody can retire. And while they're saying there's not many people who will be able to retire, guess what? It doesn't go into effect until 2019, so we don't need to adopt it now. The bigger issue is the fact that this administration may have allegedly illegally bargained a group status, which they cannot do. It's kind of like holding a carrot in front of a horse. Okay? He didn't have the ordinance in place. They did not adopt it. Yet he turns around and he says, we will make you Group 4, this contract under Article 28 will make you a Group 4 employee by June 30, 2019. You can't bargain that. You can't. Besides the fact that you can't bargain your group status, you also can't bargain something you don't have. And you did not have this. You didn't have it, and now you're sending to the city council, you need to adopt this because I screwed up. That's what it looks like. And remember, let's use what we call the reasonable and prudent standard. What would a reasonable and prudent individual discern, interpret from this situation? You don't have the law in place, yet you bargain it. Oh, wait a minute, we already went through this. We didn't have the funding in place, but we privatized trash. And again, the misrepresentation that all the zombies out there, yeah, you zombies, you know, you people who follow in lockstep with the mayor, say, well, you lost the suit. No, they didn't lose the suit. What happened was the city council, by virtue of their shenanigans, their confusion, their inability to follow, accidentally or deliberately approved the budget, the funding, the day before the hearing. Therefore, the contract was funded. Therefore, the lawsuit was moot. Had it been heard 2 days before, there'd be an injunction and there'd be no privatization of trash. You can't do it. You cannot do it. You've done the same thing now, administration, with this branding campaign. And we've seen the lack, the absolute lack of any type of, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Guts? I'm trying to think of a good word because there's another word I want to use, because they really need to grow a set. Because instead of saying, no, we're not giving you the $30,000, they turned around and they said, oh, we're going to down that to $20,000, which means he's going to come back for another 10. At some point, he's going to come back for another 10, and we know this. You can rebrand this all you want, and we've said this 100 times before, but what happens is you get the same scenario. Now, here's where we have proof, absolute 100% proof of the duplicity of this city council and this mayor. And I'm going to show you that duplicitous proof. Because remember, in September 9th, 2014, a resolution was presented by the city council, which was passed unanimously with one amendment. The amendment was from then City Council President Joe Camara. And it says, whereas the city of Fall River has the capability of producing commercial videos through FRG TV, now therefore be it resolved that the administration and FRG TV be invited to a future council committee on economic development and tourism to discuss the possibility of producing a video promoting the city of Fall River to be used to increase economic development and tourism. And be it further resolved that no elected official, candidates for public office or political signs be included in the video. It passed unanimously on September 9th. And it was adopted as amended. And I'm going to now show you that video.
And while we're talking about transparency, I think I want to amend it. I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's a great thing to do. The only fear I see here is that I think we need to put in here someplace that no elected official is in this video promotion of this city.
I don't have a problem with that.
Whether it's the mayor, city council, and school committee, state representatives. This should be a video to promote the city of Fall River.
Absolutely.
Without any elected official having his face or voice on this video. It should be exactly what you guys said.
Yep.
Business
It says-
people, department heads,
Yep.
what our city is doing, restaurants, everyone who's invested in this. And this video should be about the city of Fall River and not have any elected official or anyone running for public office participate in these videos when they're being made.
And that's what it
Excellent
says.
point.
It's a video promoting the city of Fall River to be used to increase economic development and tourism. And you want to amend that, be it further resolved that no elected official or individual seeking elected position shall be included in the video.
nor their name, if I could add that.
Yep, and no political signs be seen in this video. If they're doing a shot of a restaurant and the restaurant's got someone's sign there, it not be allowed in the video. Who's going to do this?
And not brought to you by the mayor's.
So as you can see, the duplicity of this government, because if you notice in seat 2, I'm going to bring that picture back up. Look who's in seat 2. Seat 2 is former city councilor Jazel Correa II, now mayor, who voted for this unanimous vote of the entire council, yet his face is in the rebranding videos. And that was brought up last night too. Yet, again, we have a duplicitous city council. They voted to give him the money. This is how we don't get anything done in Fall River. It doesn't matter what law you pass, nobody follows it. It doesn't matter what resolution you make, nobody follows it. And you, the people, get what you deserve in some respects because you keep electing nitwits. And what happens when you keep doing that? I'll tell you what happens. And that's what happens. And that's what happens all the time in Fall River. Okay? High water, high sewer, higher taxes, less services. Now we're going to start combining positions again that we haven't combined in years. Where is this going to end? Where is this going to end? Truly, where is this going to end? You know, we have an issue that is all financial at this meeting, and nobody wanted to see it. EMS. They schedule this for when? Christine Tetrol, retirement board, on vacation. Chip Camara, in surgery. Nobody from the retirement board's present to answer the questions. Nobody's available to answer them accurately. Not the propaganda. Let's take the propaganda out of it, okay? The administration has propaganda. A reasonable and prudent individual, let's do this. A reasonable and prudent individual, when they look at this, this is an attempt to garner favor with the EMS personnel in an election year. That's what a reasonable and prudent person would say. Do you care about your taxes? Do you care about your finances? Do you care about the fact that we're going to bond us to death? This is what's happening in Fall River. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. Because if you cared, you'd be down at Government Center saying, I want to know exactly what it's going to cost. I don't want to hear the lies. I don't want to hear the misrepresentation. I posted my position last night. It went up at 6 p.m. I was at the City Council chamber when it went up, which is very clear. And it demonstrated that it's well thought out. I spoke to city councilors who, some were committed, that they couldn't pass this because financially it made no sense, and they weren't getting anything out of this except an early retirement. And some who, they were going to do it anyways because it's an election year. And that's the sad part about it. And one city councilor said about another one, well, they got that vote because that one likes Jason Burns. And my question is, why would Jason Burns be advocating for this? That's a major problem. You don't represent them. And granted, you are in a way colleagues. You work in the same situations. You work together to solve crisis situations and help with emergency medical situations as well. But the question remains, why are we doing this? This is a financial issue. Finances, money, something we don't have. You know how much we don't have it? I was advised today that minimum housing has been instructed by the administration. And again, this is still unconfirmed. This is an allegation. Let's make it clear. This is an allegation. Minimum housing has been instructed to not clean up properties. And minimum housing doesn't have the money to do it. Really? And no, just for your clarification, the people on the 6th floor, this did not come from within the building over the highway. It did not. So I did verify it with another individual who happens to be an elected official. So I have some real questionable situations because I think we dealt with this issue last year, that there's money in the revolving fund, and monies for these properties that are abandoned goes here and it's used to clean up other properties. And what happened to that money? What happened to the $44,000 that the retirement board still has no idea where it is? And no one in the administration, nobody in finance has provided that documentation. That request was made by the retirement board months ago. What do you have to hide? What? This creates such a problem in Fall River. I'm a property owner, and I'll tell you now, if I could break even tomorrow, I'd probably sell my property and jump ship, as a lot of other people have already done. And they didn't go too far. Some of them only went across the bridge. They only went to Somerset. You can try to rebrand Fall River all you want, but until you have a marketing campaign that sells the positive aspects of Fall River in a way and manner that people are going to believe it, maybe you might be able to make some inroads. The majority of people like the idea of rebranding Fall River, of creating a new outlook. They don't like the way the money was spent. They don't like the videos. They hate the logo. So let's throw that $100,000 away. Poof! Why not? It's not his money. It's your tax dollars. We all love EMS. We all love paramedics. They saved my mom's life. They saved my father's life. They did this. And that's wonderful. And I give them great accolades for it. If they were subject to high incidences of cancer, high incidences of cardiac disease, high incidences of lung disease, I would be more than happy to say, yes, we should consider putting them in a Group 4 status. But they are at no higher risk than any other employee. I have served as a nurse for over 27 years, and I have served in corrections. Guess what? As a nurse, I knew the same risks that went the whole time. And if this is going to be this financially burdensome on the city, the mayor is the king of privatization. After all, he just wrote that into the custodian's contract, that the library can privatize their custodial services. Uh-oh. Did I drop something I shouldn't have dropped? Might as well privatize the EMS then. Then we don't have a retirement. We don't have anything to worry about. And guess what? We already have contracts with private vendors to provide EMS services, because sometimes EMS services in Fall River do get overwhelmed. And I'm not saying that as a negative to Fall River EMS. I think they're some of the most professional people we have. And I'm presenting this kind of sporadically all over the place, and I'm doing it deliberately because you have to see that everything, one way or another, is interrelated when you come down to money. Yesterday's meeting was all about money. And this administration is so lax in money issues that even when they knew the ordinance says they must have their quarterly reports on a specific date, they can't do it. And they gave an excuse. They always have an excuse. You have allegations now that federal money are being misused because of a certain individual who's doing work outside of their job description, paid for with federal money. We have questions on how much money we're actually going to save. And then we have a DCM contract and settlement which were put together. It's called accretion. It's illegal. The union membership has no right to vote on an issue that non-members are a part of. And they did that. And from what I have been told, again, allegations, this is alleged, they use strong-arm tactics to get it passed. Really? There were threats of privatization going around the room. They were told, you don't sign the contract, we're going to privatize. The union was like, no, you got to take this, and they brought in some quote-unquote big goons, as we were told. But you can't do that. That's coercion. You cannot legally vote on any issue. You cannot sign a contract that was coerced. It makes the contract illegal. And again, this is an allegation. We're not saying this actually happened. But how come that all the stories are kind of lining up the same way? If you only heard it from one, you say, sour grapes. You heard it from two, maybe sour grapes again. 3, 4, and you're actually reading it? No. It's a pattern. Oh, wait, that's called a past practice. And the thing the city council keeps failing to understand, that if you don't do your due diligence, if you don't do your job that you were elected to do, what good are you? Don't give me an excuse, I didn't have time. Don't give me an excuse, well, I didn't know. I didn't get the information in time. And don't give me the excuse, well, you know me, I'm trying to get all the information I possibly can, and if I don't have enough, I'm not going to vote on this. No, that's bull. If you have to make the decision based on the cursory information, most of which is readily available to anyone, because I got it all together in less than 3 hours, you're thinking with your heart. You can't think with your heart. To put it bluntly, as an elected official, you must be a heartless SOB when it comes to money. And if you can't be a heartless SOB, you need to seriously step back and say, am I doing this job for the right reasons? And am I doing this job correctly? We already know that by a preponderance of the opinion, the 6th floor isn't doing that great of a job. He's using services like the rebranding campaign, like the radio station, as the bully pulpit in some cases, and in most cases, as the next political campaign stumping speech. And remember, this is the same man who, as a city councilor, said, no, we will not have elected officials in our ads, signs. Yet he's the first one with his face in the ad. This administration always gives us what ifs. Well, we have a wonderful plan, but we can't explain it right now. Well, you know what, Mr. Mayor? I have a wonderful plan. But I can't tell you it right now either. And my plans are usually pretty effective. I want to thank you for watching this half-hour diatribe. And as I said, keep our co-host in your thoughts, prayers. And I'm hoping Chip will be back on Friday. I have reached out to a couple of people to serve as guest co-hosts. And